Hey, welcome back. It's the APP 868, the Alternative Perspectives podcast. And I'm Naldo.
Jude,
Yeah,
if you don't know already,
Yeah, if you don't know. I mean, shout out to all the new listeners, new viewers, and subscribers, all them people there. Big up yourself. Respect. Right? This is episode 100 and... No, wait.
we don't count episodes.
Yeah, we don't count
in this
episodes,
long time.
Yeah.
In this long time.
Just-
Too long to count.
Yeah. And you know, I find when I start to count, it's kind of age thing now.
I guess, sometimes hearing a big number make you feel a little bit more accomplished.
Right, yeah.
Like a veteran. But I know I'm a veteran anyway, so I don't need number. Your number no matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you can see you can give people a chance to make you feel new. When they look at that, they find something new and they feel even better now. I find something new.
Exactly.
Hey, but anyhow, a couple topics to touch on today. Obviously we have the main topic that's, eating at all of us and our safety and security. And then we have a couple things to touch on the Hacky meeting, which we didn't touch on last week.
Yeah. It happened the weekend before. The reports I took about the weekend before, and it was on my mind to talk about it, and I completely forgot. But I was kind of reluctant to talk about it because it's such old news by now. But if you feel we still have some, touch
I actually got a different little perspective when I touch on that too. There are a couple of things to touch on today. Before that, I want to get a little story. A story about I went in Scotiabank to build. First, I'm gonna say why I went in Scotiabank. So I trying to do some business, and me not having a regular job, right? When you want to do any business with the bank, you want to get any loans or do anything like that, if you want to get a mortgage, whatever, right? What they're asking for is they want some bank statements. They want a year bank statement. Some people asking for 2 years of bank statements. Now, obviously, they want the most recent one as well, right? I think that's what means the most of them because they want to see,
what's going on now.
What's going on now. In my online banking, I only get these statements 3 months at a time, right? Fine. Cool. So the other day I went in the bank, I was like, by chance, do you have any way for me to change this, dog? You understand what I'm saying? Is there any way for me to change this up to a month by month thing? Because my wife phone is month by month with the same bank, with the Scotiabank, right? So I was like, I don't know if it is something in these settings, I'm online banking, I'm missing, I don't know. So the person that know you can't because that is when they're setting up your bank account, that is how they do it. That's why nobody asks me that when they're setting up your bank account. Yeah. And for the people who don't know, and you don't get bank statements in email anymore. Well, I don't get.
I don't think there's anybody who does know that. Right.
You feel so why?
Because that's been the case for years.
Well, right? Yeah, so just in case you don't know, and
the type of person that would have checked for a statement would know they don't get back.
Right, yeah. Right? So the person say, well, nah, it's at a state up.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask that person for the bank statements at that point in time because I was waiting for the little cash to hit. The cash for this month to hit before I request the statement to show
something.
Right?
It have a little balance.
Yeah. But it's not because they want to see the pattern of the cash it's in now, boy. Not really the balance, right? They want to see the pattern of the cash it's in.
But they want to see the pattern?
Well, what them see April cash it too.
Okay. So
they can't doubt.
Right. That the pattern still is still in place.
Right. That ain't what them.
So it could be a previous pattern.
Yeah. Right. You understand? You feel well. You understand what I say? As you say,
Okay.
There's not a job letter. You come with there, get the job letter recently, and yet, right? So I go in the bank today. Still can't get so right now I can't get 2 months because the pattern ruling, right? Anyway, how the statement ruling on my thing every 3 months. So I go in the bank today. I said, well, this situation has some business to do. I would like to get some bank statements. How much bank statements you like to get? I said, well, I get in online up to January. So I just really want
February, March,
April, if possible. Because I understand April includes obviously you might want to do April. Right? Even though I think you should be able to do April up to this date.
Well, if it's a printout you want, then yes.
Right?
They should be able to get that then.
Is that no?
Why?
Because I wait till April month done and get it 3 months. I cannot get a single month. I say, wait, hold on. I say, I know this. I know I can get from my online banking.
You get prints out on your
right? I say, I understand I can get them online banking because Okay, that's how to set up with the online banking. I say, but I'm here. I'm in the bank in front of you.
And I want you to print what's on your system.
Right? They say, nah. They can't do that. I go reprint it in the 3 months. I say, wait, just know something adding up here now, boy. I'm in the bank by you. Right?
I
say, so.
And did not even. Well, okay, listen, I know the bank systems change very often these days. All kind of shit, security concerns, compliance issues, and all kind of, right? So I don't want to say that just because whenever the last time I had requested a printout, that was the case. I understand that things would change. Banking is a kind of funny thing these days, right? Financial transacting in general is a kind of funny thing these days. But I cannot even begin to guess why the bank wouldn't be able to print what is on the screen at the very least. What they used to be able to do, what they used to do when you asked for a printout, not a copy of your bank statement. Your bank statement is something different. No, you're requesting a printout. You want proof of a transaction from yesterday, right? Or you want to get you want to do a reconciliation. You're missing something. They used to give it to you for free when I used to work there. Then after a while they would charge you. Then they started charging per page, right? Okay, so the longer the history you wanted, the more you would pay. But they have to have it on the system, right? The teller that's dealing with you, or the CSR, and let's say the CSR, you went to a non-cash CSR, right? So a CSR who does not necessarily have access to the cash transactions on your screen, right? They should be able to send you across to the teller and ask the teller, you have to be able to see it. There's no way he isn't, the teller, he or she, when you go to them, isn't tapping into your online banking statements to see anything. If you ask the teller, hey, did any money go into my account yesterday? Not go into your online banking profile to tell you that. They go into their system. So you can print that page. Why is it impossible for that page to be printed?
And so I'm trying to explain to this young lady. I said, listen, I'm trying to do some business right now, and they want to see my bank records for the past few months, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to do it now.
Yeah, not at the end of the month.
Right? She said, no, I had to wait.
Now, okay, she probably feels no way saying that because we, what is it now, the 24th or 5th, somewhere there?
25th, right.
So she's probably thinking, oh, God, calm down now. April have 5 more days. But if I was requesting this on the 1st of April, 3rd of April, so would you be, saying in such a cavalier manner, oh, God, hold on now. Did you speak to anybody other than her?
No. Because, blood started to get real hot on the way. And my blood because I kind of had a little bit of vengeance to them because I went and paid off my car loan last week, right? And asked them for the letter stating, and they gave me a letter stating I pay off the loan, and they just put the loan number. Now. I went to the insurance company now to tell them, look the letter, and to cancel the insurance. They said, this letter don't have the car number, please on it, so. We ain't canceling insurance. Right?
Did they make you pay for another letter and another letter?
So when I asked her that today, she's like, well, yeah, we can organize a fair. I said, well, I don't want to pay for it. I said, because if you check the system, you can see I paid for one of this.
Yeah.
Just last week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's like, now we'll go and talk to that girl over there and see. Dog.
Because she want to charge you for that too.
Right? The paper I had in my hand from the number you pull, I just roll it up. Sure thing does me and walk straight out the bank by dog boy. Because I say, hey, I am looking to lose it.
No, I think if you dealt with a senior member of staff, it would not have. It would not have.
Why it had to be so difficult? Why you can't? And even you're not sure, you want to ask the senior member of staff.
Well, boy, I don't know. I can't explain that. That sounds like craziness to me. That sounds completely crazy to me. Why you would? I mean, we are breeding. Unfortunately, was it a young girl?
Yeah,
right.
Fairly young, not older than me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I would as we've mentioned many times on this podcast, I think we are breeding young people who can't think, right? Who can't think. Not critical thinkers. Critical thinking skills are very underdeveloped. They lack critical thinking skills, but they're very sure of themselves because they think they know a lot, right? I mean, like most young people, but I think that this generation, apart from feeling they know a lot, because we all thought we knew a lot when we were young, but I think this generation thinks they know a lot, but they lack critical thinking skills. They have a lot of knowledge, but no judgment.
Right.
And so they don't think, she doesn't think that that's something she has to ask someone. She doesn't think that she needs to, okay, all right, maybe I think so. Maybe it doesn't occur to her that what she's saying sounds stupid, which wouldn't surprise me at all. But she wouldn't even think that what you are asking for is sensible enough that, okay, let me confirm that is the case.
Right.
Let me ask, there's no way at all I could print this for this man? And I think she would, if she was sure of the fact that it couldn't happen, she'd have probably quoted why.
Right.
She'd have probably said, well, listen, we no longer have the ability to print. That's a security thing. Because everything with the bank these days is, well, for security purposes, we no longer this. For security purposes, we no longer that. To be in line with compliance laws and regulations, we can't do this. So she probably would have said that, but she didn't. She just...
So here, no, and here's my thing, right? And I told her, I said, listen, if because April ain't done yet, I can't get April, that's fine, right? I mean, yeah, I really wanted to, but if I can't get it, that's fine. Because I could always go to this next institution and say, listen, they need April to finish before I can get, but let's see if we can start the process,
right? But I can't get up to March.
You're right.
Yeah, I can't get.
And I'm explaining, trending, listen, I need this thing to do business. And I told her this. I said I needed this to do business like last week.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's poor customer service training. She's just a horrible. Listen, before we stop, before I continue throwing her under the bus, I confirm whether that's possible. I really want you to do that. Confirm whether it is really a bank policy that they are unable to give you a readout, a printout, or anything that could be verified as having come from the bank that shows the transactions in your account since January.
Right.
Find that out. Because if it is, that is the case, and it's not her fault.
Right.
But I very, 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 very much doubt that. Right? And since that is probably the case, I would say that's a lack of customer service training. And it's also just, she's just not good at her job. Because she's clearly not concerned with helping you.
Yeah.
Because if she was concerned with helping you, which is what her job is, then she would have at least at the very, hey, let me confirm the policy.
And let me show you how simple, stupid things like this could type situations, right? So, David from Ruro, right? Ruro Importers.
Okay.
Right? He posted a vehicle for sale yesterday. That's a vehicle, he can have it at a deal. That's a vehicle I'll sell pretty quickly. You understand what I'm saying? So in situations like this, you need to, if it's a loan you need to get that approval real quick.
One time.
You understand?
Yeah.
No, the thing is, because I already engaged in conversation with two financial agencies, with two financing agencies to deal with our loan situation, they just want this little documentation at this point.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. To give the final approval.
Approve, dog.
To give the final approval. Yeah.
And this going through could have approved this today.
And they could have hired.
And they send them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that?
And they could have hired Benz by now.
Hey, Benz. Yeah. I could have sent him that information. Send them. Well, they would have sent them the approval, and that can have booked the vehicle for me.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could organize, and we could go through ever.
Yeah.
So no, I got lost out on an opportunity here.
Because the bank is telling me that it is impossible for them to provide any sort of physical documentation with respect to my banking transaction.
And that same bank is telling me they don't want to give me a loan because them don't really believe in you as in me as an entrepreneur. You understand? Them not on that with me now. Boy. If you come with that job letter, brother, you don't want to come out with no loan.
But yeah, that's awful. That's as you mentioned, that situation we got on the customer service. I have to say, and I now realize how poor I am at this. I was really a weird fella, When I say a weird fella, like, because as we talking, I remember over the weekend, where I went to Tobago, I did something I don't normally do, which was to go on a boat tour, because I hate going on boats, especially like yachts and maybe a super yacht would be a big deal, but small boat, I can't take that. Yeah. Awful. And while they're talking, and I'm remembering, I want to talk about the fact that I got good customer service from these fellas. And I realized, as a man had a whole conversation with this captain and never asked him on his name. I don't even remember the name of the tour company. I remember the name of the boat, but I don't remember the name of the tour company. So I hope it's not a situation where different tour companies is running the boat.
Right.
But Dreamcatcher was the name of the boat.
Right.
And they did one of those tours from Buku Beach to Cotton Bay. And the saddest, he was real good. He was real cool, dog. The man realized I was under real pressure because from the time I reached on the boat, he watched my face like, you don't like the water at all? I said, nah, well, you don't. So he told me, all right, go up on the top because the top there is, you go feel emotionless now. Now I try and tell him, Dan, I ain't gonna make no difference. I've been on these boats, I think gonna make a difference. But he said, still go up there, right? So I was up there right next to him for the whole ride now. So we talked, ting. And he was indicating to me that, all right, listen, the going to hell pressure though, because we're going against the waves, right? So it could be bad. But what he was saying was that, well, he explained to me later, because when we were coming back, he was actually going in towards the coastline, and because that's what the tour was really supposed to take you there. And he did mention that he wasn't doing that on the way too, but he didn't explain why, right? I just thought he was telling me, well, the other people on the boat not experiencing the full thing because are giving you a ease up now. But the reason why he wasn't going into the coastline was because of when you go closer to the shore, because the water becomes more shallow, the waves become bigger. So the movement would be even more,
worse,
it'd be more frustrating. So, but I thought he just meant, well, hey, the other people didn't get any full experience. But when we were going back and we were going in, I heard him having a conversation with another one of the boatmen, and I realized that the reason why there's go, closely to the coastline is because they want to advertise the service.
Oh,
they want people to see the boat. Hey, what's the name of that boat? And they want to see people having fun on the boat, and so you know what I mean. So he actually wasn't able to do what he would normally do to attract customers, simply because he was like, nah, dog, you under real pressure. You know what I mean? He did everything. I didn't even have to get him my name, bro. I feel shame, but he did. He went out of his way to try to make me feel comfortable, which he didn't really achieve, but he did his best to try. And normally in tourist-driven countries, people do that, and they was looking for. Nah, but he didn't seem like he wanted a tip, or he just really was concerned. Like, nah, I don't want you, because it was on my birthday, and he knew that I was the birthday boy, so he's like, nah, dog, I care how you under pressure for your birthday. So he went above and beyond. So, as I say, I'm hoping it's not like different tour companies, so some other tour company might benefit from this plug. But as you mentioned, poor customer service, it came to mind that I should.
You want to balance it off with some good ones.
Yeah, with some good ones. As I say, it was, I can't say the experience was wonderful, but he tried his best to make it.
Hey, but happy birthday again, happy belated. Well, I tell you, happy birthday on your birthday.
Yeah. I appreciate it, but it was I want to big them up.
Yeah. Well, hey, big up Tobago people and them. It had jazz. Over the weekend. As I was telling somebody today, I didn't see much post, however, but the person believed that it was a great success. Apparently, they changed some venue from Pigeon Point to some other park. And they cheers. What the person was telling me is that they get real flack in Tobago for changing the venue, but when people saw the new venue and how how it was constructed and decorated and things, everybody didn't have the same issues anymore now.
Well, so, I don't know. When she said what night that one was on, that event was on.
Which concert she was talking about? I think she was telling me about, I think the Boys to Men night. I forget. She talked about the Boys to Men night plenty, and she talked about the Everton Blender and Coffee night plenty.
Well, I didn't go to any of the events, but I passed by a couple of them, and they didn't seem to be that well attended. My wife's family, who was in Tobago, they went to the Boyz II Men, which was like the big show that was in Dwight York Stadium. And from I mean, I didn't get their take on the performances. And I think that one was well attended, but they say it was poorly organized. They had to wait outside for a long period of time. They were told from beforehand that despite the fact that they bought VIP tickets, they would still have to reach to the venue at a certain time, or they're not sure to get parking. And I find it, and something else, they were told that if they didn't get there on time, they might miss out on. I was like, what? Am I really a very important person? How could I run out of amenities if I get there after something? I can't be that important.
Well, the thing is, but I don't know if you know my take, but I always say, if I have to pay to be considered very important, that alone says how important I'm not. Right? So if you always pay more for VIP, I always see that to be weird. Don't get me wrong, I really take all the money in my day and charge extra for VIP, and I pay it, and I'm real glad I pay it. It helped me live a real good lifestyle back in the day. But I have always said that if I'm paying more to be considered a very important person, it says more about me who paying than right? Because I really, if Dr. Rowley was going, if you little at Rowley, well, you're going on rollers, you have to reach early, because
if you didn't reach on time, parking,
you ain't gonna parking, none of this. If you like, no, that wouldn't happen.
Because he's important.
Yeah, he's really a very important person.
Well, then again, in Tobago, I know I'm hoping it wouldn't work against him that he's rowdy.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Considering the political climate, no, that's the point I'm trying to make.
The thing is,
Tobago.
Actually, me calling that person, I was calling that person to find out the word on the ground now, really and truly. We could jump into that first time, we could jump into the bad news after.
Right, okay.
With crime and
right, as we end up here.
Yeah, as we done in Tobago, like we do in Tobago.
Right.
You understand? With all less crime and, and they want to see the answer. But yeah, so the thing is, as I really call it to find out what the ground saying about the Farley and if, how much people still for Farley, if it's a 50-50 split between Farley and a month, and then, or people wanting back PNM, or if it's still Farley still have a lot of support on the ground. If you go missing Watson Duke, if you are missing Kizel Jackson, you understand? But she's in our way, she ain't talking nothing about politics.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Victimization.
I don't know. That didn't even want to tell me on the phone. I guess.
She might feel recorded. I spoke to one person. She said about that issue. Well, she actually instigated the conversation with me to find out what people in Trinidad were thinking. She's Trinidadian, but living in Tobago,
right.
Living there for a while. As the only person I spoke to about that, I wasn't really trying to have conversation about politics over the weekend. She gave me the impression that people were losing faith in Farley. People felt he was unraveling.
Right.
They're not really vexed with the fact that he pulled away from
Duke.
Watson Duke or nothing. They just find that since over the past few weeks, it looked like he losing control over what's going on, and this kind of wild swiping, going after the transport secretary is the one who initiated it, but probably at the behest of Farley. This whole issue with the licensing officers and something else that happened recently that the Prime Minister himself was even trying to point to in one of his statements. That these things they kind of get the impression like he under pressure and losing control. And the other thing she said that I don't know how representative of the grong in Tobago it is. She's already a grongs person, to be fair.
Right.
But the other thing she was saying was that the people in Tobago were complaining that he's no longer, number one, accessible, and he's also not listening to advisors.
Right.
I don't know how true that is, but that is what she was saying. That was the general perception, that he was very accessible prior to election. No,
but you don't think that's understandable sometimes. When I say,
well, that's what I was trying to tell her. Yeah.
I mean, so when you start again and it's in work and having meetings and dealing with, because people, Us, a normal manager, sometimes could be in some meetings that it counterproductive
Right.
for them. They do the staff under them, right? They can't get time to meet with them and to have a proper conversation. Sometimes this meeting to that meeting and right. So I could see it again.
Well,
worse for people like it.
I was making that point to her, but I think what people feel, what she was trying to express in kind of response to that, and I understand the sentiment, is that okay, and to bolster her point, the problem that these politicians create is that you encourage a type of politics that would expect people to still be able to feel that you will still be available when the time comes, right? And if you encourage people to think that that's the kind of politics you're engaging in, call me and I go help you, well, then you can't get vexed when people expect to be able to call you.
But no. I think a seasoned politician or somebody who had time in office and know what this be like, and like you said, they came out of office.
Yeah.
If you still do that when you're going back in, I can understand that'd be no problem. But if you do have that experience to know, because I think sometimes we just look from the outside and think, well, probably not you. You always saying you don't feel you can do them work, right? But sometimes we just look from the outside and we just say, nah, man, I feel like I go in there and manage.
No, not that.
Until you reach in there and realize, boy, I could barely.
No,
I sink in there, man.
That's real walking over.
Yeah.
Nah, not them thing. Nah. I understand where you're coming from.
No, but what I'm saying, plenty of people generally.
Right.
You know, people generally feel, I could go in there and manage her. What are you doing so?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but I think most politicians don't think about that. I don't think whether they're seasoned or they're new, when they're campaigning, they don't give a rat's ass about what they're going to do when they get there. They don't have a... I think the only thing that they're concerned about doing when they get there is, you know, the glad handing and how they go and pay back this person, how they go and... I think that is front and center on their minds before they get into power. When they're anticipating getting into power, what is first and foremost on their minds is, all right, well, okay, so I will give him a this work, and I could give him a that work, and I could give she a this work. Those are the things that they're planning on. The actual how we're going to stop crime, nah, we going to do that. Because I just promising to get, and I'm promising to get there, so when I get there, I could get here a work, and she a work, and she could give me this, and that's what, because that's what's really going on in their brain. They don't really care about what they're going to do when they get there. And I don't know clue how they're going to do that, right? So I don't think it's that they feel they could manage. That's just not their concern. It's not they are so preoccupied with getting there that they don't even stop for 10 seconds to think, can I really deliver any things I promise? Nah, just stop to think about that.
That come like the other marriages. Sometimes people focus on the wedding and not the marriage.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have no idea how they're going to deal with the day-to-day. They just know I want to, you know, have a boss reception and I want to go in Hyatt ballroom.
And now Marshall to perform.
Yeah. And I want to go Bali for the honeymoon. That's what they want. The pictures and this, and they have no concern for what is going to happen after. That's, in my belief, my estimation. That's what I think that's how a lot of politicians approach it. But so yeah. Generally, that's what she was telling me with the two complaints. He's not accessible and he's not listening to advisors anymore. And people just think he's unraveling. He's losing control of the situation.
Well, boy, the thing is, if he's really unraveling and he's losing the ground and he's losing across there, that's it. This, I am telling you no. Watson Duke? Well, Watson Duke like he pack up already. I ain't hear nothing from him, but
no way. Watson Duke talking a lot. Watson Duke is shouting from the rooftops, call an election.
Right? Yeah. But he ain't win nothing. We ain't have no, right? So, but Watson Duke pack up and relax himself. We ain't talking about Tobago. I talking about in Trinidad and Tobago, general, right? Who else? PEP, UNC, all, yeah? If Farley losing Tobago, especially in the general election, because my hope was that whoever party would have won
TPP.
Would have won the 2 seats in Tobago, and that alone could start to shake Rowley and them.
Well, I mean, I still think there's a good chance of that happening if he rights the ship, because he's not going to. Because what I really wanted to get from you was whether you think they should call the THA election. I don't think he's going to.
No, I don't think he should call the THA election either. I think No, I don't think he should do that either.
No. Okay. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Not whether it would be strategically sensible for him to do that. I think I'm asking, what do you think about the? Well, I was going to ask. We'll get in a second. What do you think about the argument that he should coming from outside? But before we get to there, the point I'm trying to make is I don't think he's going to give in. He's not going to give in and call no elections, right? And if he can, I think there's a good chance that he can right the ship between now
And
whenever a general election occurs. And once he does that, I don't see why there's not good chance at least.
well, right. I mean, but he has to want to ride the ship, right? So
No, why would he not? He has to want to do that because the
you 5 p.m. look like they want to ride the ship here.
well, okay, ride the ship as in win over popular opinion, not necessarily good governance.
Yeah.
But he would have to. He doesn't have what the PNM has, which is a legacy, right? With the almost like what they feel is a birthright to rule. He doesn't have that, so he has to win over public support. So by right the ship, I mean get people back on his side.
No, I know. Yeah. I know that's what you mean, but the thing is,
But I think he has to want to do that.
well, I think for one, sometimes people just get so much in their head, just like the UNC did when they were in power, right? That they weren't even realizing that you're really losing ground. You feel what you're doing working. Because sometimes that might be the situation. You feel what you're doing working because the few people are wrong. You're telling, yeah, boss, yeah, the boss, yeah, general, yeah. And then all fall down.
Well,
you understand what I say?
Right, no, but he still wants to.
Right?
He still wants to. Whether he if it is that what was expressed to me is in fact the case, they would know, right? Tobago is too small for you to be in a bubble thinking you're already starring and you're not, right? So he would, if that's the case, he would be aware and he would know he has to correct that. He can't afford to sit down and be but them people don't gonna vote for nobody else. It had to be me. He can't have that.
Well, we hope
Right.
so.
I don't think so. I don't.
Most people is getting delusional up there, you know, though. People is start to lose it, you know.
Maybe, but I don't think he. I think he knows if that is the case, I think he would know he needs to do something. And whether that something is good governance or not, I don't expect good governance from nobody, right? But I think he will attempt to. Whether he'll be successful or not, he will attempt to. And if he does, there is a good chance that
I mean, once he does, and they could get the 2 seats in Tobago going to him, I mean, there's a possibility of dethrowing the PNM. You're in a much better position to dethrone the PNM than
right.
any other way I could see.
No, I know you will harbor a lot of hatred for the current administration because they are the current administration. They are the current ones doing shit. But sometimes I just feel like you just have all this hope in moving them. I don't have no faith in what will come in. You know?
No, and neither me, you know. Just so don't get me wrong. It's not that I want to see them dethroned, right? I just like to see that there could possibly be a next option. I hate to feel like it's a monopoly.
Right, okay.
And like there's no way.
Right.
Because once they feel like there's no way for them to be dethroned,
Right.
they will continue to be
Shit
Yeah,
pun shit.
you understand what I say?
Shit pun shit.
So the thing is, they must feel some degree of threat now, boy, for them to say, good boy, you should get. So let me try and do a little more. Let me do a little more. Let me make a little more sense.
You want them to get shake up.
Yeah, but if they ain't getting shake up at all, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit will rain forever.
Yeah, because you go see 1,000 people getting murdered, and you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's why I just want them across there to hold the reins, right? Let the PNM and them know that, hey, there's a 4 circle within Tobago. Because how much it is now is 2318.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2318.
Yeah.
So even if let me just say 2 goes that way, so it's gonna be 21, 18, 2. Right? So that means the UNC and them, they
One
just need
constituency.
they just need to do a little shaking up.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got 2 constituency and
Yeah.
is bacchanal. Right? I think, and even though if it end up the 21, 18, 2, and you go to Parliament to pass certain laws and to do certain things,
Yeah.
now you have to come with real good.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, not necessarily.
Well, true.
These people, their backdoor deals and things doesn't have nothing to do with good governance. So ultimately, it does all fall down when you're dealing with
No,
poor quality people.
No, the thing is, if people like Farley and them really for Tobago and truly for Tobago as he has claimed, right? Then if they need your 2 votes to pass something in Parliament, because people, I know if people know about that, but that's happening in Congress. I think people make the backdoor deals for their community too. Some people make it for themselves. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah,
right. Some people make it for themselves too. But some people make it. Listen, here we know what we need a bridge across here.
Yeah.
So if we vote with you, or they organize that bridge, who build the bridge and who get kickback and that is the next story, right? But what I'm talking about is, you could now bargain for you have more bargaining right or more bargaining say for your constituencies in the situation, which would be, your island. So, I mean, that's a way to look at it.
True, I agree. To the question now that I wanted to ask you, the argument is that they no longer have a mandate to govern in Tobago because they are not a part of the party that won. They have removed themselves from them. They became an independent. They were a party of independence, and now they formed a new party. They finally call the party something, right? Not just Rowley, as I say, Watson Duke is calling. I've heard other people say, listen, I think it's only, they're making a moral argument because we should mention there's no legal requirement that they remove themselves. It's kind of like local government here in Trinidad, if you cross the floor while in a local government position, you don't need to resign from your public representation position or whatever, right? So it's different with central government, right? That'll be a different story. But for local government and for the Tobago House of Assembly elections, that's not the case. So in essence, in theory, you would be voting for a representative, not necessarily for a party. Governing party, right? So they don't have to move. So people are making moral arguments then, making it seem like, hey, listen, for all it even, if all it was serious about, number one, about democracy, or serious about, taking an ethical stance on this issue, you would remove yourself, you would call elections and let the people of Tobago vote for your new party and not just transfer. Don't assume the support is being transferred to you now. What do you think about that?
No, I disagree with that. I think because if you're voting for representatives, yes, they might be attached to a particular party or whatever the case may be. And if it's true representation people looking for, then you should vote for representatives, right? Because we could make the same argument here. Then don't put the representative, right, on the ballot here, or don't let us know who it is. And you vote PNM, UNC, PDP, PEP, or whatever the case may be. And then when they're done, Rowley or whoever win, come and sprinkle whichever representative they want to represent whoever constituency as they want.
Right.
But you don't do that.
Right.
You just come and tell me this is the representative for this area, right? Even though we know most people as Israelis just vote for the party, but you're still part representative. If you don't believe in that system, you understand what I'm saying? And you believe you're really voting for party, then when we hear, don't let me know who the representative is.
I hear you. But I disagree though. I disagree for a few reasons. One of them, even in what you said there just now, most people just vote for the party. Well, but you can't just discount that. So if most people do whatever the system is developed for is one thing, but if it's going to be truly representative democracy, then what actually happens is important. So the system might be designed for a particular thing, or with a particular idea in mind. But if you and all are willing to admit that most people voted for the party, so then, in other words, most people now would be saying, I didn't vote for this.
Right.
And if most people now would be saying, I didn't vote for this, then you should give them a chance to say whether they're voting for what is new.
Right.
Right?
So I understand your point, and that is a valid point, but is that the direction we want to go? Because I think we and all this complain all the time about tribal politics, about, tribal politics and party politics, right? And not necessarily focusing on representation and representative.
Well, okay, not necessarily. What I complain about is tribal politics, but not that you should focus on the representative. I think you should focus on policies and governance. Because let me tell you why there's a difference, right? And this was the other thing I was going to say. like let me say in the United States, it's more, I use that example. I use that as an example because it is more clearly seen there. But it's supposed to be the same thing here. A Republican and a Democrat are supposed to stand for two completely different things, right? There's a particular ideology that goes behind the politics. So if you are no longer a Democrat, that might matter to me who's the voter. Because yes, I voted for you as a representative, but I voted for you as a representative because I thought you were part of a party that
carries a certain ideal.
Right. Precisely. If you are now aligned with different people, then that may have a serious impact on whether I support you or not. No, we don't have
that yet.
No, yeah, but we don't have parties that are aligned to like political ideologies. But we do have parties that's supposed to have a philosophy behind them. It might not be left wing or right wing, but when you're a part of a party, you stand for something, right? The party puts out a manifesto, right? If you are no longer part of that party, you may no longer have to subscribe to that manifesto because you have disassociated yourself from that party. Now, in this case, we are saying that we assume the reason you disassociate yourself because you fall out with that man in particular. But it could be that you fell out with the party because they no longer have the ideals. They're going in a different direction. So therefore, or you feel to go in a different direction. So to me, it's like, all right, I don't want to get too in the weeds, right? But thinking of it in a kind of legalistic way, when it like how you formulate a contract, right? There are clauses in a contract that are termed material clauses. So if you don't abide by those clauses, they have a material effect on the contract. And so therefore, if you breach them, then it's a breach of contract, and you could sue for damages or whatever, right? So let's say I sign a contract with you to drop your child to school every day for a year, right? But when we signed the contract, I was driving a fielder wagon, right? 6 months into the contract, I write off that car and I drive in Tida, right? Is that a material term to the term of the contract that would allow you to now say, well, nah, Jude, I'm not bothering. I'm not going to pay you for the next 6 months. I'm going to cancel the contract because when I signed this contract, you was driving a fielder. Now you're driving a Tida. Now, in that instance, it's probably not. Right? Because she's not any less comfortable. Right. But let's say I was driving a fielder, but now I'm driving a Ferrari. You could say, nah, bro, that Ferrari have a top speed of 260 miles an hour. I don't know how you could be driving my daughter. So, nah, that changes the matter. Yes, you're still getting her from point A to point B, but that's a kind of fundamental thing. So I might have grounds to say, no, I want to discontinue the contract here now because the fact that you've changed your vehicle is a material matter. I think removing yourself from the party that you were a part of is a material matter.
I hear you. And if we had that ideological politics, I would agree with you. But and I think because we kind of know the individuals involved, like us, and all right. So this might be my bias, right? In that I was happy to see Farley remove himself from Watson Duke. You understand what I'm saying?
From standing next to us.
Right. No, the thing I'm not a bit to be with them, so I don't know how they feel about this. And if they feel a particular way, come to the YouTube video and comment below, right? But for me, I was happy to see him remove himself from that individual. And so for me, that was a plus. That's a great move. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, that's why I can't fight Anna, boy. No.
But you could do that, but simply test the waters as to whether or not the people who voted you in, they should be able to say, we no longer support you. But if he removes himself from Watson Duke, I don't have a problem with him doing that. I'm just simply saying that since he has done that, since he has removed himself from the party, it's not that the PDP still exists but he and Watson Duke aren't friends, or Watson Duke has been excommunicated, is that he and all of them have removed themselves from the party.
No, listen.
So shouldn't the people say, we don't like that? If they don't like that, shouldn't they be allowed to say something like that?
Right, I understand your point, but I also think that no, being in this situation, I think the need is a shitty situation when you think about the logistics of politics, and the logistics are trying to go to the polls. Because now you're talking about financing, you're talking about if you're going back to an election, you need to have campaign financing, you need to everything together. And I think you could say one about Watson Duke and them. I think Watson Duke and them bring a certain amount of cash to the party, to the four because it was his party. But they brought a certain degree of stability, a certain amount of organization that they had already, right? I think so. Even if you tell them call election now, and they're now trying to get back on their feet, withdrawing from the party, and the craziness that was, you understand? Because Kiesel Jackson said that she put money in the party too, and now she's not part of it again. So let me just say you have two major financiers. You do have the funds of them two major financiers. So go back into the battlefield without the...
But that's but you're making my point. That might matter to a voter. That this party, they ain't too sure about this party. This party's shaky.
Right. So
and that party, for whatever... okay, listen. It shouldn't matter to a sensible voter.
Right.
You know? But the point is, there's no law against what matters to a voter, or no law that regulates what should matter. You could vote for a man because you like the cut of his jib, right? You could vote for a man because you like his haircut. So that's the point of democracy, right? So all that you're saying there is proving the point. The people may feel that this party is shaky. I ain't too sure about this party. I don't even feel they're going to keep this party together because I feel, maybe some people are saying the behavior they displayed in that whole issue with Watson Duke make me question how serious any of them is about governance.
Right. So
just go back to the polls and let people say whether they like that or not.
Even if you had to go back to the polls, I would say to go back. No, I think, in my opinion, if you need some more time to steady a ship, and I don't want steady a ship for the polls, because I think you get steady a ship to run the THA, right? I think, but to go to the polls, there's a different type of battle, right? The administrative things is one thing, but going to war basically to win in this battle is a whole different thing.
But again, you keep talking about what good for them. I talk about was
good for the
principle. Was good in principle, and what is. Because, like I say, he's not going to call it, and but I mean, if I'm thinking purely for him, I wouldn't call it ever.
Yeah,
you know, let the elections come when the time come. We have a new party, we going on with government, go from here. As he tell Rowley, mind your damn business, right? And he was very. I didn't see the video, but I heard he posted some video when in his response to Rowley, he posted some video on, I think it was on his Facebook page, where Rowley was talking about how he has nothing to do with Tobago business, right? So he's like, hey, but it's you saying over and over and quite unequivocally that you have no kind of, not interest, but you have no interest in interfering in any way, shape or form in Tobago business. And he's playing it back like, well, this was you talking. So now, try, heed your advice now and stay there. So I would, if I was him, I'd not call it no election ever until... the constitutionally due. But I'm saying, in principle, what should really happen? Not whether it's good for him or his party. He should have thought all of that before he defected. He should have thought all of that before he couldn't sit down and reason with Watson Duke and keep the party together. If he's not sure he could put together a party and get the financiers and get it together, well, he should not move. Yeah,
I mean, that's obviously saying that in ideal world, but I think he saw with Watson Duke there, he would have burned down the whole place somewhere.
But what I'm saying is, I can't feel sorry for you now. I can't say, well, no, although in principle it shouldn't really happen, you know. But I'm feeling sorry for you.
No, but let me tell you what I would say. I would say if Tobago don't have a problem, well, they come out and protest. Let me see your numbers, right? And let me see your numbers and call them out and right? But at the end of the day, politicians calling for it. They are politicians. And everybody looking for the get a chance at
of course, yeah.
So if the people have an issue, come out, do like in France and in them places and them. I don't like France.
Right? I think that's what they're trying to stoke.
Right? But and they stoke up how much they want to stoke, and let me see if the people come out in the numbers and protest and they get the numbers or they get some sort of petition saying, oh, we'll have in Tobago 100,000, 200,000.
Not 200,000. Last time I checked, it was 65,000.
Right. If you get a petition with over 10% of Tobagonians, right, registered Tobagonian voters or whatever you want to call them, right, to sign a petition to say you are election, cool, no problem. Let the people, answer to the people. But that's was it. Rowley and Watson Duke in this situation asking for to call election. Nah, dog.
Yeah, 60,000.
Yeah. Yeah, answer to the people. So if you had to get a petition signed with 6,001 people, right?
Yeah.
Say, now, we think we should call an election. But 6,001 people registered Tobagonians or registered to vote in Tobago. Yeah. I think if the people talk at 10%, go through. But now boy dog, dude, in my opinion, don't take no pressure from them because they look at the play politics and both of them possibly have all the ammunition and all the resources to be taking a war right now.
I will say I don't think he should if he's thinking of himself. I'm just saying that in principle I think that is what should happen.
But and my thing is listen to the people. If you what the people want, cool. But other than that, that's what them boy dog boy.
Alright. So we deal with Farley and them, we deal with Tobago. Last week we had a symposium. Crime symposium.
Nice.
Attended by CARICOM leaders. The first when we recorded last week, it was at the end of the first day.
Yeah.
Right? It was a 2-day symposium. It happened Monday and Tuesday. We did record it on Monday. Tuesday came and there was there were announcements made subsequently about what were some of the policy recommendations that to come out of it. First of all, I felt as if I don't know if they're yet to brief the public fully on what came from this.
Because you feel the information I get so far.
It
didn't seem to helpful.
I saying like what really went on here, bro. They made a point that, this wasn't just for show, this wasn't just so we could come together and look like we're doing something.
No, I think it was because they came together to eat and drink any had.
I wouldn't like to think that them fellas need an excuse on such a large scale to eat nice.
Not to bring in your friends from foreign too. Hey.
Yeah, boy,
hey.
It's a sad life all they living if all they need all this frou-frou just to line with all their partners, or they couldn't jump on a plane and go them and
listen to me. These high maintenance girl and them. These high maintenance foreign girl and them dog. Have to come up with reasons to bring them in. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, boy, and from some of the interactions I saw, I don't feel as if some of these leaders were too happy to be next to each other. I'd point out to you in the video. I mean, listen, I'm not a body language expert, and I know it might have been taken out of context, but there was a little video clip of Rowley talking to Andrew Holness, and Andrew Holness looking like he ain't really too interested in what being said.
Yeah. Well, and it's so good thing coming as a jumpy in Jamaica.
Exactly.
The grown guy, really.
I don't know. He didn't look like he was too interested. There were some people, and I've heard this before, that Mia Motley rubs some CARICOM leaders the wrong way. A friend of mine, let me not say too more. No, too much more. But she would have, I could trust her word, and she was. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, because people might forget her. But anyway, the point is, I've heard that, some people complain. They're not too happy about her, the way she behaves sometimes.
Right.
She kind of likes to hog the spotlight, right?
Wow. Yeah, I mean.
So, anyway. So I don't want to believe that that's what it was. It was just because these people are looking as friends. You know what I mean? But ultimately, it was really just what they said it wasn't, a talk shop. Because other than the biggest announcement that came from it was the proposed ban on assault weapons, right? And I want to get into that firstly. I want to use that as a vehicle to get into something else.
Right.
But I wanna touch on that. So we have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago where there are high-powered rifles, assault rifles or assault weapons, handguns, everything out there being used 99.99999% of the time illegally. Right? Why would CARICOM leaders think that announcing a ban on the legal acquisition of assault weapons would be of any use, would be consequential in any way, shape, or how could they feel comfortable with having that be
to ban something that you already don't have access to?
That most people don't have access to.
Right. That most people who have legal firearms.
Well, most people who have access to it, most people can't acquire legal firearms.
Right.
Right? That's the point. Most people can't acquire any kind of legal firearm.
Right.
And then most of them who do acquire legal firearms don't acquire those.
Right.
Right? So the banning of that's it. That's the start we are looking for. Why them would feel
but I think they have
okay about
but I think they have a point in it. Because I think they had to ban it from the army and the police too.
Could them is who giving it to?
Because
that's how we get it.
men get spray up and then you find it shells
marked with the TTDF sign on it. Yeah.
So then apparently they really had to ban it from them army men.
Ban it from them.
They had to ban it from the army men too.
Yeah.
So the ban really had to come in overall because clearly something going wrong here. You understand what I'm saying?
Bro.
So, I think they were trying to, indirectly tell Rowley, like you have to ban the army men from getting guns, dog. Because that causing some problems in their crime.
No, but it's in all across the Caribbean.
Right?
They want to draw.
But I know what's going on up the island. I don't know if army men learn how they gonna or things up the Caribbean. I don't know.
So listen, this is the headline in the news here today. Fitzgerald Hines says gun ban to protect region from mass shootings, right? National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines said the proposal to ban assault weapons in the region is a preemptive measure to tackle possible instances of mass shootings. A mass shooting is defined as any single shooting incident in which 4 or more people are killed. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so that person who read our papers this morning and went in our house and only killed 3 people. That person says,
he was trying.
I am not going to be classified as a mass shooter.
Yeah, I don't know what happens, right? In an interview on Monday, Hines said each country will have to work out how the proposal will apply, as some countries may need legislative blah, 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 blah. Hines said Caribbean leaders found the proliferation of illegal guns as well as the abuse of legal guns had generated a lot of trauma in their respective societies. He cited the murder-suicide of teacher and attorney Keisha Marina Bostic and her estranged husband, Shamzad Mohammed, on November 4th, where a illegal firearm was used, blah, blah.
Now we'll stick up in there. I wanted to stick up in there and let us have a proper conversation before we go forward, right? So we're talking about November 4th.
4th, yeah.
All right. So November 4th to December 31st is our 26 and 31. That is 57 days, right? All right. In those 57 days, we would have probably had 57 murders. I don't know. I estimating. Could be more.
Bro, between then and now, we probably had 300 murders. Between then,
right,
November 4th, and now, we've probably had close to 300.
And the itemized one situation.
Yeah.
Right? So 1 out of 300 murders, you itemize. All right. I don't know. Just checking.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because legal firearms are the problem. Having regard to the difficulty that we see in neighboring U.S. having mass shootings, the abuse of legal firearms and the use of illegal firearms have generated a situation where citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and the region are severely traumatized. Now, that is what I wanted to use this as a vehicle to get into. I have found, I don't know if you've seen this too, but over the past, I want to say month or so, I've seen a lot of Trinidadians hyping about the about gun violence in the United States. Right?
Well, I mean, it had.
Right? No. When I say hyping, like, I mean, even people who don't normally talk about political issues, and you know what I mean. I'm saying they're not just posting about this particular thing. They're kind of making it, you know. I'm seeing a concerted effort, almost as if to distract from the fact that we have shit going on here. You know, I remember once I was by someone, and the news of some shooting had taken place. That had taken place in the United States came up, and they was like, "Oh gosh, boy, every day something different across there. What kind of mad people?" You know, there's a country 330 million people, right? 330 million people. Those incidents, you could live in the United States, live 3 to 4 lifetimes, and not ever be a victim of random mass shooting. I'm talking about, not you know what we think about when you think of a mass shooting.
Yeah, I know that is the next thing that people don't understand.
Right.
Mass shootings, because even though you just see a few of them happening in schools every now and again, but then they hear, oh, they had 100 and something mass shootings for the year already.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily a school shooting.
Yeah.
That is sometimes a man pull on a gang and
blast
spray down the place.
Yes, like that happens in Chicago, Philadelphia.
And that happens right here in Trinidad too.
Right, in Memphis all the time. Right. And there's once more than 4 people got shot. Not died. Yeah, once more than 4 people got shot. You know? That's a mass shooting, right? But you could live in the United States and live 4 or 5 lifetimes and not end up in one of those, what you think of as a mass shooting, which is somebody going into a random school or a cinema and shooting people, right? You live in a place, you think you could live 4 lifetimes comfortably and feel, I could never be a victim of a murder or violent crime in this country.
I honestly don't feel that way. And I could say, I don't think anybody, I'm going to say, probably have people living in real nice gated communities and things like that. I think nearly every average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago live in an area where they hear a couple of gunshots or know somebody wrong the corner, know somebody down the street who gets shot.
These things happen everywhere now.
Yeah.
Penal, 4 the other day. I mean, I don't live in Penal, but that is not a place you would think of as a hotspot. You understand what I'm saying? It had 4 shootings in one 4 killings in one day. You know what I mean? St. Augustine, train line in St. Augustine. I used to go there all the time. When if I had to do a delivery inside there, I wouldn't feel no way about going inside there. And since the other day when the first thing is killing dog. You understand what I'm saying? So this thing is random. It's wild everywhere. You understand? So, but I feel as if people, and now you're seeing politicians using it, as this sort of distraction to talk about what's going on in the United States and the United States. Hey.
Yeah, nah.
That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, the United States, no, all the manage all the gun situation and all the selling guns here, you know. Yeah. Dog, if Trump was in power and that message I get to Trump, I would have loved to hear Trump deal with Rowdy. I tell you, I would have loved to hear this man's response. I telling you.
Yeah, it is a strange. Well, it's not a strange distraction tactic. It's a distraction tactic, and it's strange and it's working, but it shouldn't be strange because people are stupid, right? And they have the fact that the media in the US, that is largely left-wing, love to broadcast everything to do with mass shootings because they have an agenda against, the Second Amendment. And
one, the Second Amendment, and 2, the right wings, because right wings attach themselves to the Second Amendment.
Right.
So when you make the Second Amendment look bad, you make them, that whole team look bad.
Right. So so because that is the case right now, and so they have the media cycle is dominated. Anytime there's a mass shooting, the media cycle is dominated by that. And human beings are kind of foolish, They see these things and they can't put it in context. They can't understand that. Listen, this is not. People aren't going to be packing up and leaving the United States because, boy, this is crazy. I saw somebody was just showing videos of people who recently, well, I don't know if all of them were recently, stories about people who like walked to the wrong car or went to the wrong thing and got shot, right? And the person who posted, I was like, dog, I would have think you would have had a little bit more discernment, right? because the first thing you should think is, why is this happening all of a sudden? Are all of these stories real? Is it really as simple as this person just walked to the wrong car and somebody pulled out a gun and didn't ask him a question and blast him in the head? You know what I mean? Like, but headlines speak to people.
The thing is, I watched the two headlines, the same day, two stories came out. And one they make sure black boy, whatever.
Right.
And the next one was a white girl I think got shot. But they didn't put the person color or not race or nothing.
Right, because it's the point of that is to incite a particular thought in the head, right? But our politicians here are getting into this nonsense of trying to conflate two issues that have nothing to do with each other and trying to hide behind we are banning assault weapons as a preemptive measure to prevent bro, we have mass shootings already, my guy. We have that already, right? The people of Trinidad and Tobago are traumatized not by the abuse of legal firearms, largely. We are terrorized and traumatized because of the use of illegal firearms. And the legal firearms are being abused, as you pointed out, coming from the armed forces. Not legal firearms. A man have a gun in the house and he pick up his gun and shoot his wife. And yes, that happened. But that is not what is causing mayhem.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and of course, anybody who kills a loved one or kill anybody with a legal firearm is a shitty situation, right? But most of the times, those things are very domestic situations. Like, be real, dog, most of the time.
Well, of course.
Right, it's hardly a situation where a man fall out, a man come with illegal firearm and a fall out. You know what I'm saying?
And fight,
and you, right? Most of them is domestic situations, which are bad. It's horrible. It should never happen.
And even when they're used in regular altercations, sometimes it may have been lawfully used.
Right, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you just because it was used not to kill a bandit doesn't mean that it was misused or it was abused. You know what I mean?
So and the point I'm making is that we, the average citizen, kind of don't have fear now.
You don't have fear of that.
The legal firearms. But I mean, I don't think if I have a legal firearm here, I don't think my wife will shoot me. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. So me not no fear. But you know what fear? The people out there with the illegal ones.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The people with the illegal ones, well, I can't afraid the police. Them fellas will white. You know what I'm saying? But that is my problem. My problem is really and truly my fear is with the illegal ones, so I don't understand. And most people will probably feel the same way. I don't know. I don't know.
Why people just tell these clowns, but go from here with that shit now. I know you can't solve the problem. So you talk about all kind of other things. But why do people take that, boy? Why do we take that? Why would any reporter interviewing Fitzgerald Heights to even bring up mass shootings, bro? That has nothing to do with us here. That is not what is. We want to hear what you are doing to prevent the illegal firearms from coming in here. Just this morning, I'm looking at the morning edition and and it said the leader of the SW trade union, the sea workers, seamen and workers, waterfront workers trade union, right? They brought him on to get his opinion on the recent announcement by the Minister of Finance that they will be getting the scanners, promising the scanners on the portal. He said, "Hey, I know them talking that since 2017, you know."
Yeah, nah. And the man said, "Hey, what if you pick up and buy a scanner just so you see that video?"
No.
Oh, I mean, man said, if you pick up and buy a scanner just so.
Who's saying that?
But there's a tendering process.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
and these scanners has to be made.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, then what if fretting
2017,
cool it.
2017, while we supposedly, all that time people was dead in like rain, bro. As my brethren Sprang used to say, dead in like rain. But it didn't concern you to get our process expedited. Because, as Anisette was saying, listen, the last time I heard about this, it was, the issue was they were trying to find the vendors and trying to work out the maintenance structure. How they're going to be maintained, who's going to get the contract to do that, blah, blah, blah. That's 2017. 2017, bro. 6 years later, we hearing a promise again. While
6 years, at least 1,800 people murdered. The reason I carried on so much is because during the 2 years for the pandemic, it dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I could still work it out better and still be more, but that,
Yeah.
right? Let's just say.
And largely through illegal
firearms, right?
Now, he was also pointing out that, there are several ports in this country. And, his organization only represents, because the interviewer was trying to kind of instigate that his membership, people working on the port will kind of not want to comply when these scanners come in, right? And he was also mentioning, listen, there are plenty ports in this country. I think it's 16, he said, right? It's not just Point Lisas and Port of Spain. And plenty things to pass through there too. And this kind of issue is really just for the Port of Spain that we're talking about here, right? But the point is, again, can they claim to be serious about stopping this crime situation? That would have been one way of ensuring that you're doing all you can to prevent the illegal firearms from coming here. And then we would not be talking shit about abuse of legal firearms and banning us imaginary assault weapons that nobody legally owns anyway yet. We wouldn't be having this discussion.
You think they make that play for international recognition, boy? Like you see that, right? And you get the international news to cover Trinidad and Tobago bans.
Well, you keep saying it's CARICOM.
Oh, CARICOM bans. CARICOM bans.
And this was for all of them.
Yeah, CARICOM bans.
I think so, yeah. I think they will all have advisors and communications people who would have been involved in these meetings who would have said, you have to get a headline grabber coming out of this.
Yeah.
It may very well be that. I also think it came from they bereft of ideas. They don't really know what to do. A lot of these are very complex issues that take a lot of things changing. So you can't really come and in 2 days and think about a policy that will solve a problem, right? If it was an obvious policy that could have just come out in 2 days, then it would have been out already. You know what I mean? Not before the symposium.
Yeah.
So because it was a talk shop, then you get a talking point, which is what came out from that talking point. Which is what happens at all of those meetings for those who don't pay attention.
But me and Motley is somebody who's normally point out that.
Right, that nothing. I mean, okay, maybe more substantive things were discussed, we just haven't heard.
Yeah.
Maybe the media didn't choose to cover them, I don't know. But I would have thought that if something more substantive came out, they themselves would have been interested to tell the people. But on that issue, and the last thing we'll talk about in that regard is the one thing that people were talking a lot about, and this is actually the only thing I felt was profitable that came out of this conference, was Ralph Gonsalves was all too eager to talk plainly, right? For those who might have missed it, the headline here, obviously, which is it's meant to be the most attention grabbing. He says some crimes done to maintain to mine. Well, they put mind. High maintenance women, right? There are many root causes to crime, as agreed by several heads of state at the CARICOM Symposium on Crime at the Hyatt Regency in Port of Spain on Monday. But St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said one of the reasons youths are picking up guns to commit crimes is to keep providing the lifestyle for high-maintenance pretty women. Now, that is their summary of what he said. Now they're going to go into direct quotations, right? He said, for most criminals, a life of crime was a choice, right? They choose to be murderers and kill, and they do so, by and large, because they want to make some easy money dealing drugs and running crime. Does that sound unreasonable to you? No.
There's some nuance, but no, it doesn't sound unreasonable.
Right. Well, not correct, I'm saying reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them, in order to maintain rank in the community, they get a fascination with guns. Does that sound unreasonable to you?
No, it doesn't sound unreasonable.
They associate with young women, in some cases beautiful young women, who are high maintenance, and they have to rob and steal and kill and deal in drugs in order to maintain them. Does that sound unreasonable to you?
No, not really. Mm-hmm.
No, that's how we phrased it. Those were his exact words. If you, from the conversation that arose out of what he said, you would have sworn that he said his high maintenance woman is because of
yeah.
Some idiot. I remember I interviewed her once, or while I was on radio. I always recognize her face, but I hardly ever remember her name. But I saw in the headline that they had a picture of her. She's some gender studies some shit on the papers. They refer to as a gender expert. Well, okay, maybe I'm being guilty of the same thing because I didn't read the article. But what they said was what they chose, and I think they put it in quotes. So I think she actually said this. Don't blame women for the crimes of men. Does it sound like that's what Ralph Gonsalves was doing, blaming the women?
No.
Now, the whole conversation around what he said made it seem as if he was suggesting that his woman is because. But is that what he said?
No. Yeah. The headline.
Everybody here knows what I'm talking about. Everyone here knows what I'm talking here is the absolute truth. He insisted. What I'm talking here, people in the taverns across Trinidad and Tobago. Who does use the word taverns? Is Ralph Gonza? He's living in England or something, or he has some kind of old England too, not even like recent. The taverns across Trinidad and Tobago are talking about. Well, it's time we spoke about it here. He dismissed the perceived social effects of crime, poverty. Well, I don't think it's effects they're trying to say. They're trying to probably say the social causes of crime. So Newsday sort out all themselves.
Because effects would be because crime is poverty.
Yeah. So clearly Newsday trying to diss Ralph Gonsalves, but the editor not really, because this I am getting the impression that that's what this article was meant to do. It was meant to put what he said in a negative light, right? I could be wrong. That could just be my perception. Right. He dismissed the perceived causes of crime, Newsday, poverty, prejudice, and a lack of access to opportunities. He said if people were really that frustrated, they would kill themselves instead of turning to crime and killing others. That's not in quotes. But I don't know if that's what he said. He said, I note that in TNT and all the countries in the Caribbean, with the possible exception of Guyana, we have amongst the lowest rates of suicides. So if we are really frustrated, we should be killing ourselves more individually. We don't, we kill other people, Gonsalves said. He described criminals as cowards, adding that his wish is to have the death penalty applicable again across the region. Right. Now that last sentiment about people killing themselves was, I would probably say, phrased clumsily, right? And you could probably be criticized. But I get the point he's trying to make.
But I think, if you understand how Ralph Gonsalves talk, he's talking kind of wild way to it.
Yes.
Yeah, he just talk kind of,
yes.
Let them kill himself. Yeah, what kind of wild, a rum shop kind of way he just talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, but
let me not talk to you, but you want too much. Right. I'm your prime minister now. You understand?
Hey, when should listen?
I feel...
the thing is, right? Anybody who is not too caught up in how not eloquent he sounds will understand the point he's making. He's saying, listen, if it was frustration, there are lots of people who are undergoing hard times, right? If hard times is what was the bleeding cause, then you would see more things like suicide, right? But you're not seeing that. I'm not agreeing necessarily or disagreeing. I'm simply saying, is that unreasonable?
No, I don't think
is that unreasonable.
I don't think so. I mean, if your time's hard,
right?
Hey, exit.
Why you going and killing other people? There is still a disconnect. Like people make it sound like it's a natural consequence. Hard times equal kill people.
Because the thing is, people dumb, right? Because hard times, are you going to kill people and eat them? You can't buy food. Grocery prices.
No. Well, what they will say is you're taking work to kill people.
Right.
Right. So you're taking work to kill people. So you get paid to do that. Right. But again,
you're taking work to kill innocent people. If you understand what I'm saying.
Well, because there is still the human being in between those two factors, hard times and murder. The human being, what is happening with that human being is still very important. It is not hard times over here. It's not a simple equation. Hard times plus human being equal murder. No. The fact that human being is choosing to murder, whether for hire or for fun, because he have hard times, it means that something is wrong with this human being.
Yeah.
And that's a big factor, not the hard times, right?
Yeah.
Right. So here is a response in the same Newsday. I don't know if is it an op-ed? I'm not sure. I can't tell. It doesn't look like it's in the opinion. Oh yes, it is. It's in the editorial section. So it's an op-ed. Cowardly young people. Sorry, the headline is Dr. Gonzalez sets wrong tone. Now, first of all, what different does his tone mean? What difference does his tone make? Now, okay, I shouldn't say what difference does his tone make. Tone is important. Communication is multifaceted. It's not just what you say, how you say it, blah. I get that, right? But why are we starting from the get-go with his tone? So immediately, I already see where this is going because you are more concerned with the tone it sets rather than the accuracy or inaccuracy of it.
And you see, the thing is, I mean, obviously, everybody have an opinion in this day and age. I'm not Vincentian, really, right?
Yeah.
And
Really? Oh, your father?
Yeah, my father was from St. Vincent, right? I've never been there or anything like that. I've seen Ralph Gonzalez talk on TV here, right? Little clips, something. So I kind get how the man speaks. Right. If you understand what I say. Right. And I understand that we say it's not malicious. If you understand what I say.
Right. He thinks we should get to the bottom of the issue. And we should speak about the issue plainly. Right?
That's how he is.
Right. No, I don't know nothing about his style of governance, whether he's good, bad, indifferent. He could be a clown. I don't know.
Wait, it's had to be real bad for him to be winning so much time, boy.
No, listen, I don't think the fact that he winning me good, because plenty, especially with the smaller islands, politics could become a kind of a. Once you're in power, it's kind of easy to ensure you stay in power. You can manipulate things very easily to remain in power. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying I don't just take the fact that, as a matter of fact, when I see somewhere where one person has been governing for like forever,
I think that more corruption.
I don't get the impression that's a good thing at all, right? I hardly ever think, oh well, that's because he's really good.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. So the article starts: cowardly young people, the judiciary, high maintenance women, the U.S., the Privy Council, opposition parties, the media, the Pope, and the mother of Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. These were among the culprits listed at this week's historic two-day regional symposium on crime. Now, I didn't see the entire. I didn't see any part of it actually. To be fair, I only read excerpts from it. But I didn't even read a full transcript of what he said. So I don't know in what context he blamed the Pope or anybody else. Or his mother. I don't know. I don't know. So the setting of the event was incredibly formal, taking place under heavy security at the plush Hyatt Regency. But any hope that it would be more than a glorified talk shop was shattered by the contribution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Gonzalez on day one. Setting the wrong tone, Dr. Gonzalez threw up an offensive confection of old hat ideas that made clear CARICOM leaders were not prepared to offer anything new. No. Okay, I'll reserve that till we're done, right? Saying people in taverns were calling for the resumption of the death penalty, the St. Vincent Prime Minister said he had been taught by the RC Church and his mother that hanging was not right. I happen to think the Pope and my mother were wrong. Okay, so that's the context. It should be right. So he didn't blame his mother, but yeah. He happens to think that the Pope and they were wrong, right? So again, a mischaracterization because he didn't call them culprits of any sort, right? Didn't blame them for crime. Dr. Gonzalez is his country's most successful politician. He has made blah, 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 blah. With murders spiraling, the region was looking for sober, new ideas coming out of the symposium. Instead, we were served with the same old. In the case of Dr. Gonzalez, we also got sexist tripe. What part of what he said was demeaning to one sex rather than another? How on earth could this be? I could already tell the sort of person that writes like this.
Yeah.
Right? You see these new age intellects.
Kind of but he's kind of writing.
My Lord, I didn't. Not just the feminist thing.
Okay.
Because I don't believe it's a woman. Right? I just think it's.
You sure what? They tell you the gender. They can tell you the pronouns. That's what that's making. You rather look this.
No, I'm actually looking to see if I can put the name at the bottom.
It could be a male name, but you know.
I don't know. I didn't actually, to be fair, I don't think there's anything there that really says it's not a
Probably, you know.
but I just pictured a man, for whatever reason, reading it, right? I don't think it's necessarily a feminist per se. I'm just thinking, is he kind of person that speaks in buzzwords?
Right, okay.
You know,
I think it's going to say a panty, man. Like, okay, sorry.
the modern day intellect, the person who from the time you start with, he sets the wrong tone. I don't know where you going. You're one of those, you're one of those people that is, very concerned with political correctness and using the right terms and not offending, and that's the modern day intellect, right? Or the modern day person who thinks himself to be an intellectual. So that's why the insertion of the buzzwords is sexist. What was sexist about what aspect? First of all, he didn't even blame women for being the source of the crime. He was simply pointing out that the motivation of some men who are involved in committing criminal acts is, in his mind, to maintain high maintenance women. And I would submit that that's a fact. I would submit that that's a fact. And I think that the person writing this has no knowledge otherwise.
Right. They have no real life.
They don't know nothing, right? About nothing, right? So if Ralph Gonsalves was to be able to point out, to bring 100 criminals from the jails in St. Vincent and ask them, why you do that? Well, I have a woman I want to mine, or thing. I have a woman, I like to buy nice things from a woman. So what would that be? He would is he making a misstatement?
I used to make a joke long time, right? I used to say, whatever you man, hold up somebody, I say, give me everything you have now. Eh? Give me your wallet now. Yeah, why that?
So the thing is, why are you attacking that statement? That statement may be fact. But you know why they attack statements like that? Because one thing intellects hate is reality. And that's why they hated Donald Trump so much, because he spoke in a way that was reflective of what was actually taking place. Not the way they like to describe things, right? They like to use flowery language and think about who isn't offended and who's not. They like to think about the tone. But reality runs up against their ideas. They peddle ideas. They think, they think they're brighter than the rest of us, and so they use words like forward thinking and progressive, and you know what I mean? Because old ideas are a waste of time, when there might be a lot of wisdom in old traditional ideas.
But I would have said, and the thing is, with this situation, these new ways of policing clearly is stopping the crime.
And not just here. Because you could say, we backward. But even countries known for not having to deal with a lot of crime, the ones we would normally hail as the greatest in the world, the Scandinavian countries, they are all experiencing increases in crime. Now, they started from a very low point, so it's nowhere near what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. But because of social factors in their countries, dealing with migrants who are coming across borders with nothing in their pockets, and often an inability to speak the language and therefore acclimate, what is the obvious result of that? You're going to find ghettoization, people segregating themselves, and then crime takes place. So these countries that have normally had to deal with a particular type of population, now after they are dealing with a demographic change, and it's causing issues. And they aren't able to solve them. And they are so progressive and have all the best ideas. And the only reason they're not where we are now is because they are only just beginning to deal with the social disintegration that happens when you have that, which is why many of them are trying so hard to stop, to curb migration, right?
That's why England say Brexit. Hey, we exited all the boy because people come by earlier, and then they come by we.
And they can't.
So what's going on? Let them stop earlier.
Yeah, exactly. But that hasn't happened. They're still coming over in droves. So that was useless. But the point is, that's why they're dealing with that, right? So the issue is not one where just having lofty ideas solves anything. But these sorts of people, like the person responding here, they're not interested in whether the ideas could be tested against reality. Because, as we've said on many occasions on this show, you can't reason people out of positions that they didn't reason themselves into. These ideas they have about how to solve crime and how, these progressive ideas and whatever, they didn't come to them because they sat and they soberly assessed the situation, they objectively, and they said, you know what? They looked at scientific studies, rigorous studies, and no, they didn't. They just, these ideas sound cool. They sound new age. I sound like a good person when I espouse them. So that's why when you say things like, okay, you keep saying poverty causes crime. Well, we were poorer 50 years ago. How come we didn't have crime then? They don't have that. Funny, I don't want to stray from this too much. We go close off on this just now, but it just occurred to me. This happened over the week, right? And we spoke about this last week. We were talking about why the people have these attachments to these ideas and so on. And I was trying to tell you, listen, most people they don't hold these views because they think they will work, these ideas will work. They hold these ideas or they espouse these ideas because they think it makes them sound like good people. So I'm in a WhatsApp group, and somehow the topic of minimum wage came up this week. I think it's because Bernie Sanders was tweeting something about thing, and the guy who actually brought it up, he from here but living in the States, right? So he's always trying to bring up these American news topics kind of thing, right? And I came in late in the game. I know better than to try to convince anybody one way or another, right? But the idea of raising the minimum wage is what they were discussing, right? So I ain't trying to convince anybody, but I just found, again, stupidly, that the conversation was missing context, or at least some additional information. So everybody obviously was, and why did they do that? The corrupt politicians and blah, and blah, and blah, and blah, and blah, right? Why did they want to... Well, no, it was that the lobbyists, the business community would be lobbying the government to not raise minimum wages. And obviously, since the government is beholden to the financiers, right, that's why they're doing it, right? So I just asked, I don't know if you all are aware, but we live in a time where people are scared to death that AI is going to take all of our jobs. Why would we want to do something? No, I didn't say why. I said, do you all think it's wise to be pursuing policies that would encourage companies
to move
away from human beings working and towards AI? I mean, it may happen eventually anyway, but do we want to hasten that process? Food for thought. Hello? What I got in... Well, to be fair, let me deal with the reasonable, not sensible, but reasonable responses. Reasonable response number one. Well, this was the main response, really. Well, the government could pass a law to stop the companies from firing people, right? Because that's one of the main arguments against raising the minimum wage. People say, whether or not it's for AI could take your jobs, they could, the thinking would be, if you make labor more expensive, they'll just hire less people, so they'll fire more people.
But if you start off your argument by saying these government officials in these business people pockets, then why will they make laws?
Right. No, but okay. You would only let's say the minimum wage raises anyway. First of all, then that would mean somehow the government, the politics. You get a Messiah, you get a Barack Obama who loves people, and so he passes the law, and then you could further pass a law saying, well, they can't fire people. So I was like, last time I checked, the United States, North Trinidad and Tobago was North Korea, right? We have mixed economies. We have some intervention from the government, but when the government starts to tell you who you can and can't fire, that's a level of involvement. That's a completely different economic system from what we have now. I don't think it's easy to enact something like that. And even if it is, I think we should have a huge discussion about, okay, we are now basically socialist. We are now the Trinidad and Tobago Socialist Republic, or the United States Socialist Republic. So United States Socialist Republic. That's not easy to achieve, right? Within the legal framework that we both have in our countries. We are both supposed to be liberal democracies. That's not supposed to happen that easily. And secondly, even if we could, right? What do you think a company who is mandated, because you are essentially telling them that they cannot maximize their profits. They have increased the cost of your labor and you have no choice but to lose money. Because if you have not increased your productivity, but I have to pay you more, then that means I'm losing money. Right? So what do you think a business who is faced with that is going to do? He's going to pick up and leave. And then even if you say, well, some of these businesses can't leave easily. Okay, right, they might leave tomorrow, but they will begin putting things in place to leave eventually. But then on top of that, maybe they were thinking about expanding next year. But they're not going to bother to do that. Right? They're not, maybe if they hadn't raised the minimum wage, you would have hired 100 more people this year. But they're not going to do that. So you're going to have stagnation in the economy. How is Trinidad and Tobago going to compete on the international stage? If some of these companies are exporters, how are they going to manage when other countries are able to minimize their input costs and become more competitive and we can't? So all of this is, voice notes and well, right? Jude, man, I mean, Naldo, man, said to me, Jude, you use a voice for the rich and what? A man tell me like you want to walk to your spokesman for the Republicans in the States. I'm like, hey, whoa, brother, man, whoa. I said, you all started because the whole thing was, or the whole thread was, people can't mind the trend and you all care about those people. That's why you say you're talking about this, right? That's why and I'm simply saying, I'm not picking a team. I'm simply saying, what you claim to want to help poor people, the things that you are suggesting may. Now, if we could have an argument about, not because this is what I was expecting people to do. I was expecting people to, because there have been all kind of studies that could be gerrymandered to say, oh no, in this instance, it raised the minimum wage and employment went up. Right. I don't believe them thing, but we could have, I thought that's what you were going to do. You're going to bring those studies and that study shit that was, a biased study that was done. But the point is, they didn't even do that. They just started calling me names essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Now, think about that. You claim that why you want this in place is because you want to help people. I'm saying to you, okay, hold up, bro. You may actually be hurting people, but you're not concerned about that in the least.
Yeah, and I think I was watching something with the Economist online, and I think I tell you this already. He's saying one of the problems with raising the minimum wage, really and truly, these small businesses is getting hit.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the big businesses with big profits, they could take the lash, but the small businesses can't afford to.
Because that is what they will always start with. They'll say, I forgot to say that. There's it's not that they can't afford. Them companies making billions. That's not every company on planet Earth, you idiot. Mm-hmm. Because this happened just the other day in, I think it's Washington State in the US, right? Where before there were arguments about raising the minimum wage, right? And I think it's McDonald's and Amazon were like, nah, we're going to raise the minimum wage even before the law is passed, right? So, obviously they would advertise, we care about our workers, blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously, what do you think that did? That put the competitors to McDonald's out of business.
The smaller diners.
Exactly. Because, first of all, before they raised the minimum wage in the state and they had to pay it anyway, the first thing it would do is it will take all that small diners workers, the woman who wanted to open a little burger joint, she don't want to become McDonald's, she just want to, maintain herself because she like to cook, and she have a diner. How all her, if she had a manager who she could have, after she started off the business, she finally hired a girl or man and trained them up good, and now she could kind of takes a little time off because she could trust this person to run the business. Well, guess what? That person going to work McDonald's now because they're going to pay them however much more an hour. So she is in a rut. And then when they raise the minimum wage in the state, she just can't compete. She just goes out of business. But when you say these things, when you bring reality to an intellect or someone who thinks themselves to be an intellect, they get upset. That's why they get angry. Because no, I want to believe what I want to because it makes me feel good. I sound bright. I sound compassionate. I sound like I am the one with all the answers. And when you bring all this conflicting information, this reality my way, when you don't just put, say, oh, well, yes, crime is due to systemic this and systemic that. No, I'm not saying I'm not saying these things have nothing to do with it. But when you don't just repeat that is what I would call tripe over and over and over. And you don't just say, you just nod and say, that is the cause of crime. And you bring reality to them, they get upset and they say, oh, you sound like a troglodyte, or you're bringing up old, tired idea. Well, maybe they're old and tried it because they're true. Because you don't know anything about why people commit crime because you're not a criminal. And you probably don't associate with criminals.
Like I try to tell people, and I know it's hard for some people to hear, but the minimum wage is not put there for you to live off of,
Right, yeah.
It's put there, it's really and truly there as a starting point. And what you're supposed to be doing is trying to elevate from there and move up.
Right.
Yes. So it's just young people, and I mean, unfortunately, some people who would never improve their whether education or whatever in life, right? And had to stay at that level. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. But that is what that is for. That is not for people to get comfortable and say,
well, I technically is there to buy votes, but that's why it's there. I mean, listen, I understand the conversation is a difficult one. It's a nuanced one. It's one that has a lot of complications, and I'm not saying I have the right answer. And even in that discussion, I if somebody had brought like proper studies and said, "Lo, Jude, they've tried this in this place and that place, and credible institutions, economic institutions have rated it and said it worked," I'd be okay. I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, wherever it works, then it doesn't negatively or too negatively affect economic growth or employment. Why the hell not? I am not paying it, so I don't have a vested interest in not paying people more. But so I was welcome to hear that, but you don't hear that, because I start to realize, what you don't really care about poor people. You just find rich people as because they kept repeating that billions and billions. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I don't care. Okay, you say McDonald's could afford to pay more because it was clear 100 and something billion in profit. Okay, fine. All right, I'm not gonna argue. Right? Maybe they could pay more. Maybe they could lose 100 million and not bother them, and they could pay that in wages. Fine, cool. But McDonald's is not the only flipping place that will have to pay. You understand? So, and even if they said in response, well, okay, well, let's have a minimum wage raise for companies with a certain revenue value, a revenue, or profit margin, or whatever. Okay, all right, that could be difficult to implement. They also have to do all kind of crazy tax thing to say, oh, we didn't make so much in profit because we transferred it somewhere and everything. All right, so okay, but again, all reasonable conversation. But you don't really care about this whole thing about the minimum wage. You claiming is about helping poor people. What you really want to do is you want to stick it to rich people. You find rich people hoard too much of their money. And just say that. And the thing is, when you hear people speak, you start to realize what you're really concerned about. Because if you're really concerned about solving the problem, then when I come to you with reality, facts, you should be like, oh, I didn't consider that.
Yeah.
I
never thought about
that. I'll come back to you on that. I thought it would help poor people, or I thought it would help reduce crime. But you mentioned, you're showing me, because he went. I don't want to read no more, but he went on about, there was no talk about white collar crime and white collar again. Because what you're showing me there is your hang up is you are concerned with a certain kind of people. Right? You want to protect. You are one of those people who don't want to talk about what you perceive the lower class or the disadvantaged in society. You don't want to talk about their culpability in the crime at all. Let's talk about rich people. Now, I'm not here to defend no rich people who committing crime. There's no doubt in my mind that there are people who are very wealthy in this country who are fueling the crime, in this country in more than one way. Right? No doubt. And should they be dealt with? 100%. But I'm also concerned with the individuals, because there have always been white-collar criminals. Belgium is now known as the cocaine capital of Europe, right? Belgium. Antwerp is apparently the place where all the drugs that passes through Europe, it lands there. And they are having a problem with growing crime, right? But nowhere near what we are dealing with. And they are a much larger country. They would be dealing with much more money when it comes to the drugs that passing through and so on and so forth. And
it is each 10 times the amount wherever it is here.
Right.
It's 10 times the amount with everybody.
Right. And with a developed country like Belgium.
Oh, just one. Sorry. Wherever you pay for it here is 100 times the amount. Because so if you just saying, if you pay 4,000, right, for a kilo of cocaine here, when it reach there, it will be 40,000 pounds.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
Euros, or it could be 50,000 euros.
Yeah.
When it reaches there.
Yeah, right.
You know, I just say it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers. I don't ship cocaine to Belgium, but apparently he does.
No. I mean, I read stories and when they tell you the street value here, and they check the weight and they check the street value here, and they reach there and they find it there and they check the street value there and multiply it. Oh, okay. All
I see I was trying to learn French the other day.
Yeah.
No,
Listen, if Scotiabank continue this shit, right? I can't get no loan. You understand?
But yeah, but in an organized first world country like Belgium, for that kind of drugs to be passing through there, it had to have real white collar crime. They have lots of people in shirts and ties who are walking around pretending to be completely law-abiding citizens who are getting paid to turn a blind eye. Right? So there's lots of white collar crime over there as well, but they don't have the same amount of violent crime. Why is that? So we should examine these things. What we are not doing is we are not coming to these conversations with an open mind. We think we know. I know the problem is this, and I know the problem is that. And all Ralph Gonsalves was trying to do was say, listen, I have a different take. I hear a lot of talk about social this and opportunities. Again, that's another thing, lack of opportunities. Who in their right mind could say that the average person in Trinidad and Tobago in 2023 has less opportunities to take themselves out of poverty than they did in 1956? Who could say that? Who could say that the average individual in this country has access to, there are more social programs, education is more abundant, government infrastructure, facilities, everything is more abundant.
If you're poor, it's even better. If you're poor, you can get free gate still.
Right, exactly.
You're making a little dust, you have to pay a percentage.
Precisely.
So if you're poor, it's better for gate.
So how could opportunities be the problem? Because we live in an era where a young person could start an internet business, could start hustling from 13 years old. Well, I mean, it could start at an age, but I know of several
You
young
can be
people.
like Marcos. Marcos started his internet business at 16.
Right.
And at 20 or 19,
20.
he's 21 now. At 19, he's a millionaire. He made $1 million.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm going to leave that right there.
That's what I mean. That's what the man said. The man put out a video today. And the man said that. So look at that. Look at that.
Right.
He was at a point where he was evicted.
Right.
So he was broken.
Right.
So-
I saw that video when he was claimed he was being evicted or whatever, right? Young black boy, right? The kind of person who we always talk about is so hard for them to make it out, right? Young black boy, that's where he is. Young people could start to hustle from any age. They have a phone, they could start a social media page and start selling their talent, their craft. They could start editing for people, all kinds of things. There's no shortage of opportunities in 2023. So is it because there are no opportunities? So when you say things like that, what do you mean? You need to be clear, because what happens is people say these things and nobody challenges, because it sounds like yes, it's systemic, this and is a disadvantage, that sounds like something an intellect would say. But you ask them, what shit you talking with? Opportunities are more abundant? No. In fact, I think if we had the same attitudes as people in 1956 in 2023, we would not be in this position, because people in 1956 would have killed to have been able to go to secondary school if they weren't the brightest of the bright and able to get a scholarship and go to. Anybody could go to school, and you try to tell me, well, because I can't afford to give my child a max to go to school every week, or to go to school to go. I not send him to school because he can't nice sneakers. You know what I mean? They'll be like, what is wrong with you?
Then there is somebody else telling me what it's about a program that is by uniform pay share. I didn't know that.
That has existed for years, bro. Years. As a matter of fact, if you live in a community and you really want to send your children to school, and you make it known to the community that you want to send your children to school, you just don't have, who would not help you? Who would not help you? But most of these people...
One, their ego, and two, you just live bad. If you're living bad with people.
And not just that, they're not really interested in the children going to school. They're not really interested, because how could a child come home at 13 years old and say, I'm not going back? Why? Why are you not going back? What are you going to do? Okay, you're not going back. Okay, cool. So what's the plan? Let me start talking now. What's the plan? You're going to do X, Y, Z, you're going to open a business, you're going to...
You call me worthless like your stinking father. That's why he dead and leave me. And that what they're going to answer.
Yes. And so we just going to ignore the fact that these are the attitudes that are ever present in some of these communities. We're just gonna avoid that. We're gonna act like there's, it's everybody else's fault. We're not going. So, long and short of the story is, I think the only good thing to come from at least from what I've heard so far, the only thing to come out of that is that somebody, apparently Ralph Gonzalez was there and willing to have an open conversation. Would he have been right about everything he said? I seriously doubt that, right? And we could challenge much of what he said, but he was trying to have an honest and open conversation about what we really dealing with. Because until we talk openly about what we really dealing with, we have no.
And that's reality now, boy. Yeah, most of the conversation starters and you bounce off ideas, but now we do our again, Now we do our again is, I bring my thing to the table, but you're a tongue boy, you're an idiot boy, you're MC. No, there's no way.
Yeah. Or you set the wrong tone.
Yeah.
Now people want to police how you speak. So we can't have the conversation because I can't speak plainly.
Yeah.
Because if something I say offends your sensibilities, then it can't be said.
Yeah. And
if you I may not do it. Like for instance, he didn't blame women, but if anything I say could be perceived as blame, I can't say it. So then how we could have a conversation? How we could have a conversation?
And if you're not clear, I mean, that person probably wasn't there. But even you're not clear, but how you mean you bring up but how you mean with this woman thing?
Yeah, right.
I hear this and I hear that, but this woman thing, what you mean? Like Malamore, Well, what I mean by this is this, or I hear some men say this.
Yeah, right.
Or when I talk to them men.
And he might have said, I'm not blaming the women. I'm saying, I'm just simply saying, I am attributing a motivation to the men who are committing the crimes. And if that is if I could bring to you people who plainly say that's why they did it, what is wrong with what I'm saying to you? Is it true or is it false? You understand what I'm saying? Now, we could argue about how we're going to deal with that, or now that we have that information, but I'm simply saying that that's what I believe to be the motivation. But in general, the point he was making was that these people are committing crimes to stunt. Well, he didn't say stunt, but that's what we've been saying over and over. They're not doing these crimes out of necessity. They're doing it to feed their mother and their child mother and their baby home crying. They're doing these things to stunt. They want status and they're interested. And the only way to get status is to make money, and they're not interested in doing that in a legal way. They want plenty and they have no skills to get plenty, or they think they don't have the skills to get plenty. So they're going to committing crimes to do it. And how they spend their money, whether it's flashy cars or expensive women or whatever. The general point he's making is men doing these things to stunt. So don't tell me that this is a poverty thing, because these fellas not putting on their work and putting their money and saving it and spending it in chunks in it here, or going legit and putting up a shop so that they could do to do them thing again. No. They're doing it and they mind Jordan and cars and minding woman.
And gold.
Anyway. We got to split this into. I think this too good to let the end get lost.